What is going down? Sourdough Squad, Spicy Squad coming together for that spicy sourdough action. Jason Aponte with me for this State of the Franchise episode. It's been a while, Jason. It is phenomenal to see you. How you doing, my boy?
I'm good. Let's real quick before we get into the football stuff. Family check, mental health check. How's the family doing? How's everything going first?
Hey, we're doing good. Obviously, got off to a rough start a couple weeks ago, but everything's leveled out. Things are doing well, and everything's going in the right direction. So we're doing good. I appreciate you checking on me while we were going through all this situation with my stuff. But I appreciate you, man. You were checking in on me every time I needed someone to reach out. You were right there, and I appreciate you, man.
Well, this goes deeper than whatever it is that we have going on. We're, genuine friends. I care about you. And, everything's going good over here too with the family. COVID's on its way out. It's incredible about
Is it
kids,
past?
right?
Is Averly doing good? Is she getting through
So
it?
that's what I was gonna say. It's incredible about kids, right?
Yeah.
How tough they are and how scared we are as parents, right?
Right,
Because I don't care. Like, give me all the sickness, I'll run through it, give me whatever it is. But somehow it really just continues to move through it with a smile on her face, and the fever comes and goes, but it's just scary for us as parents. But these kids, man, they're tougher than we ever give them credit for, man, and they're the strength that runs through us.
Absolutely, bro. That's the thing. They don't know any better. They're just like, it is what it is.
They're not jaded, right? They're not like, I'm tired, man, I can't do this, right? Like, they're just young, and they're just like, you know what, man, I got a lot more to do, and we should.
Like, I got a stuffy nose, but I still want to watch my
We'll
shows
be
and
all
play with my toys. We good.
Exactly, yeah. And Avery's loving this. Like, she's just sitting there watching Super Why the entire time, and she's just like, hey, do you want a gummy bear? She's loving all this or whatever. So she's doing different, man.
Absolutely, but it's gonna be fun, man. We get to kind of take a step back, get to talk about some 49ers football. It's been a while for you and I to be able to chop it up together. There's been some stuff that's gone down. Again, we had the actual real 49er State of the Franchise went down since we've been away. We've had a bunch of, I guess, reports come out, and we'll start there. We'll talk about the viability or lack thereof of what we think has been being said. Obviously, let's start with Deebo Samuel. You had the report from Jeremy Fowler come out on Sunday saying that he has not rescinded his trade request. Essentially, update. There's no update. Everything's still the same. Then yesterday, you hear from Aaron Wilson of PFN come out and say there is optimism surrounding a huge Deebo Samuel deal that could be coming here anytime now. Just what is your overall take? Has anything changed for you? Because I know you've been steadfast with Deebo's going to get paid. It's nothing like all this crap is just crap, essentially. Has anything changed for you? Where are you sitting with all this kind of Deebo Samuel stuff?
No, it doesn't change anything. Deebo's going to get paid, as I've thought the entire time, and I'm not trying to take a victory lap. Oh wait, yeah, I am. But wait, we'll take the victory lap when the deal actually gets done. But here's the thing: Jeremy Fowler dropping that off on a Sunday, 8:30 Pacific time. That feels like, him. Or no. He dropped the Jimmy stuff off at 8:30, and we'll talk about that. But with this, it really felt like this is no change, and everybody's got to have content in one way or the other. But Jeremy Fowler seems to be the conduit of all of this, right? Mm-hmm. He reported the trade request first, right? Like, he was the one who had it.
I think it was him and Darlington together both put it out there.
Right, exactly. So is Jeremy Fowler seems to be the conduit of Deebo in terms of what it is. But here's the thing, Brad. No trade request needs to be rescinded at all. And here's the thing. After the draft, if nothing happened, then that's it. There's no trade request that needs to be rescinded. He went to mandatory minicamp. Seems like the 49ers and him have a good understanding of what's going on. When you hear George Kittle on the, on the Bus podcast, Busting with the Boys with Will Compton, he's talking about, my deal got done right before training camp. Fred Warner's deal got done right before training camp. Same deal. So it's nothing that again, I didn't expect it to take this shape. So I'm not sitting here acting like, yeah, I knew it was all part of the plan. This isn't all part of the plan. But at the end of the day, I knew that this was eventually going to happen. So it will happen. Debo's going to get his deal. And the first soft target is going to be the first day of training camp, which would be, they report on the 26th. That means the first day of training camp is the 27th. Can't wait to see you, by the way, Brad. Yeah, it's going to be a movie. That is the first soft deadline. And I wouldn't be concerned after that, but that's the first date that you should really kind of pencil into your calendar as the deal needs to be done either before this or on this day.
Absolutely. You're 100% spot on. Do you have any actually, before we get into a little bit of the Debo situation, I thought underrated talking point from George Kittle on with Bussin' with the Boys was the fact that he straight up said, I was not going to show up to OTAs or mandatory minicamp, but Debo did. So I think, just contextually, obviously, we look at George Kittle as the number one 49er leader, that guy who is just the voice almost of the 49ers, kind of like what Joe Staley was at a certain point. It's kind of shifted to Kittle. Kittle said, hey, I wasn't going to show up to OTAs. I wasn't going to show up to minicamp, but Debo did. So it is a good sign, at least for moving into the right direction. Terry McLaurin got signed. Our
Okay, so let's just all right. Look, Brad. I did a group therapy call-in show for the people that asking Brian. You asked yesterday we did a call-in show. Unfortunately, I know you probably missed it. Because we had some people call in, but let's just get it out, Brad. This is it. I think this is our moment now for us to get it out, let it go, group therapy type thing. Mm-hmm. You can't hold on to things from the past and people that don't want you anymore, right? These are this is our healing. This is our healing time. So let's talk about it.
So Terry McLaurin signs a 3-year lucrative deal with the Commanders before Debo Samuel. But it feels like the 49ers could have had Terry McLaurin, couldn't they? He was sitting right there. Who'd they end up going with? I forgot. It's been a while.
Jalen Hurd, and no disrespect to Jalen Hurd. None.
Of course, no disrespect to Jalen.
No.
But and the reason why we're bringing it up like this is because I was talking about this on the show the other day of how before we even met,
we bonded over this.
We bonded over Terry McLaurin hype because we both of us were into the draft and no one was talking about Terry McLaurin. They're talking about Paris Campbell. They're talking about Curtis Samuel in that same room. And I think both you and I came with the same opinion that those are the wide receivers. They're cool, but they're not the wide receiver that should be hyped like they are. It was.
And by the way, I love Curtis Samuel. And I have begged the 49ers when he was out there for a little while to go ahead and get him. But
I remember that last year, right?
Yes. I love Curtis Samuel. I love him. But it's Terry, man. Keep going, Brad.
But it is Terry, and Terry gets the deal. Obviously, he's kind of on that D-Hop hype where no real quarterbacks to start his career, yet he's able to have success. And I think that speaks volumes to what Terry McLaurin is. He is a phenomenal wide receiver. But what does that mean for Debo Samuel? What does his payday look like? Is it going to be maybe a 3-year? I think it was in the range of 71 million, or I think it was about 23 mil on average per year. Is that where the kind of floor is for Debo? Is that the ceiling? Where do you kind of anticipate, if we had to put our Parag Marate hat on, what do we think that deal is going to look like?
I think it's the floor, and I think the AJ Brown deal is the one that is the measuring stick, I think, more for Debo. And the real winner in all of these negotiations, deals, is the agent who represents Debo Samuel, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf.
That dude's cashing in this year. Holy crap.
Brad, there's going to be a discussion that needs to be had, right? The 2019 wide receiver group that is out there and the 2020 wide receiver group that is out there. Justin Jefferson's going to ask for $1 billion when
Yes,
he
and he'll
gets a
probably
shot.
get it.
Yeah, when he gets a shot. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Ayuk, those guys, right? And then you flip to 2020. I mean, you flip back to the year before, Debo, DK, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. We're literally looking at a group of wide receivers. And I'm not talking about money. Forget this. I'm just going to geek out because I love wide receivers. You are literally looking at some of the best wide receiver groups that you've ever seen in the history of this game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no hyperbole in no way, right? Like I'm not Skip Baylessing this and I'm going over the top. These are some of the best players that you've ever seen play the position. Yeah. And what you were just talking about with Terry, 1,200 yards every year. He's had, get this, 9 different quarterbacks during his time. And guess what? As much as you may not think of Carson Wentz, he's probably the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin is going to ever play with right now. So with this, Deebo Samuel's deal is going to fall somewhere closer, I feel, in my opinion, especially because of the year that he just had, which is unprecedented. Mm-hmm. Remember that. He didn't just have a good year, or he didn't just have a great year.
Created a new position.
Created a whole new position and is completely unprecedented. It's going to fall closer to the A.J. Brown deal, I feel, than Terry. The Terry deal is the floor, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's why I think DK Metcalf is sitting and waiting as long as he is, right? But Deebo's deal is going to fall closer to A.J. Brown's deal than it is Terry McLaurin's deal.
I agree 100%. I really think they want to see that 100, that triple figure number. And again, like when we're talking about, what was it, 71 mil? That 100 milli just looks, it hits different. And with, like you talked about just now, the unprecedented nature of Deebo Samuel's season last year, because we're all 49er fans. We all watch the games. You take a step back, there wasn't a whole lot going for the 49ers offense outside of Deebo Samuel as a spark when it comes to explosive plays. It was Deebo.
Brad, can you pull up Justin's comment?
The
last one. Sky Moore is my wide receiver 4 out of this group.
Oh.
Out of this group. No.
The entire NFL?
No. Sky Moore is my wide receiver 4 out of this entire group. I forget, it's Jameson, it's Garrett, and it's, goodness gracious, and Olave. Those are the 3, and those are the 3. But Sky Moore, my goodness. Justin, I got 2 shares of him in Dynasty, and I couldn't believe that I was able to, grab onto him. And guess who Patrick Mahomes is working out with right now? It's Sky Moore. Goodness gracious. If this show is talking about real football, but if
so you mean MVS isn't going to cut into the workload and volume of Sky Moore?
Not worried about Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Sky Moore is the wide receiver to manage. I don't want to say the other word. Manage in fantasy football. There you go. But yeah, Justin, Sky Moore, I'm super excited, man. I can't believe it, man.
The 49ers get to see Sky Moore this year. He's going to line up across from Emmanuel Mosley. He's going to line up from Charvarius Ward, potentially Jason Verrett. So we're going to find out if you're going to see that return on investment.
Wait a minute.
The 49ers.
My favorite narrative ever is going to rear its head. Revenge game, Charvarius Ward against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Sign me up.
You need to have a soundboard, so we can hit the button, the air horn. Burr, 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 burr.
Yeah,
what we 100%.
Do, 100%. It's coming. It's coming. But the Deebo Samuel thing, to kind of put a bow on it, I think it's just a waiting game.
Yes,
we understand Deebo Samuel is playing football for the San Francisco 49ers in 2022. If it's beyond that, an extension would be needed. And if it's not, it's going to be a tag and trade type situation once the season is over, which ultimately I think we would all agree we don't want to see, because I would imagine that would impact the locker room. That would have, kind of create a little bit of dysfunction, if you have your star player essentially as a rental before he gets tagged and traded. So I think the ultimate goal is to get Deebo Samuel locked up. I agree with Jason. 4 years, 100 mil feels like the right there at that perfect spot. Again, it's been rumored that Debo's looking for that 25 million on average. So that's perfect right in there. And that would secure his time with the 49ers. Would you build in any maybe incentivizers for rushing floors? Maybe you could take that 100 mil, or maybe it could be kind of in the range of 95 and you build in 5 million worth of rushing incentives to, because I think we still want to see Debo used in a 2, 3, 4, 5 carries a game, maybe not 7 to 12, but to still not essentially try to convince him not to run the football anymore. Maybe build in some incentives into that contract for rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, or maybe just handoffs in general. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I was able to pull Javi Vega out of retirement and jump on the call-in show yesterday, and he explained it perfectly. So this isn't my point; this is his. The crux of all of this is overuse running the ball, and now you can put a incentivizer. Okay, you want to put a little bit more on my plate, then you've got to give me more money. And if you hit a certain amount of rushes, you have to give me money. And I think that is exactly what you're talking about. And I think for sure it will be in there. And I think that that's it's not slowing things down, I won't say, because we're not privy to what's going on in the actual negotiations. But I think that's really what Debo is worried about at this point. He doesn't want to be worn out. And there's ways to hand him the ball off without putting him in as much as harm's way, meaning don't run him in between tackles.
Right.
Run him outside zone a little bit more, maybe get him outside. But all of those things are going to be built in there. And I'm sure that Debo's team is completely aware of that. And again, that's not my point. Shout out to Javi. He was bringing that up about how much you can put in terms of rushes. And if you want to use me this much, then there's a certain amount of money that needs to kick in. And I want to be paid that. And Deebo Samuel and his team is exactly smart for doing that, because the same people that will look you in the eye and say, well, you should go play for the game, Julian Edelman. I play for the memories and not the money, are the same people that will tell you that 4 or 5 years is a long, productive NFL career. And that's why Debo is doing what he's doing. And it makes 100% sense.
Absolutely. And understanding the way the running back market's laid out, being a running back is actually not a positive. It's actually can be used against you in potential negotiations because wear and tear issues come up a little bit more, and it's just not a highly valued position anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see, but I think Jason and I both agree that's going to get done. But there's another thing hanging out there. We've done a really good job the last couple months, Jason, of finding other topics, but it's time because it just feels like keeps coming up. What is your situation or feeling on the situation with Jimmy Garoppolo with the 49ers? You literally, I heard this week someone on First Take, I didn't even know her name, but she was like, well, Jimmy Garoppolo could start this year. And I'm just like, we're still having that conversation where there are people with huge platforms talking about Jimmy Garoppolo being a potential starter for the 49ers. Do you see that being an outcome? What do you see just overall? Is he going to get traded? Is he going to get cut? How do you discern what this Jimmy Garoppolo situation is at this point and what's going to happen?
So Jeremy Fowler wakes up on a Sunday, and this is, I kind of like jumped the gun because we were talking about Debo. Jeremy Fowler wakes up on a Sunday, 8:30 Pacific time, Cali time, and drops Jimmy Garoppolo is moving fine, and his progression is out there, and that's not something that is normal. What I mean by that is the 49ers are playing their games. And that's them. Hey, Jimmy's good. Jimmy's ready to roll. Jimmy's ready to go. Like, yeah. Like,
Get my line.
So, hey, it's funny how the 49ers and the 49ers players are using national media to drop their news as opposed to the Bay Area media. Like, this isn't Mayoko coming to tell you. Even though Mayoko has something very interesting to say on KNBR. I don't know if you guys saw it, and we'll talk about that.
I listened to that. I actually listened to that.
Yeah, we could talk about that in a little bit, but Jeremy Fowler putting that out on a Sunday, that's no coincidence. And then Mike Giardi, he comes out and he says, yeah, they want a quick resolution. That's Garoppolo's camp through Mike Giardi.
Right.
Do you see where this is going? And this isn't tinfoil hat. There's some sort of handshake agreement, wink, wink, gentleman's handshake going on. There's a deal going on somewhere. Let me go on record right now. It's the Carolina Panthers, in my opinion.
Brian Burns? We getting Brian Burns?
No, we're not getting Brian Burns.
Damn it, Jason. You could let me have a little bit of fun.
Hey, look, if you want to push the Brian Burns narrative, then I want to push
that narrative all day.
So send us DJ Moore, and you have to pick up some of that contract that you sent him to.
There you go.
Well too. Yeah, then
dude. DJ Moore, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, to the moon, baby.
You're all cooked. But DJ Moore being there, and it feels like Baker is set up to go to Seattle. It does feel like that a little bit. And there was a report that came out that they're a little bit closer. And I'm sure, look, no disrespect to Drew Lock. I think Geno Smith is there to stay. They're cool with him. He's been there when he's filled in admirably. Drew Lock is the one that kind of feels like they don't really care about necessarily. And they could move on from.
They got him as a kicker part of the trade.
Right. It's basically like kick the tires on a first-round prospect, and a lot of people were excited about. Remember, like he can rap Jeezy lyrics really well, like that matters. Like apparently, like instead of like football play,
it did in ADP statuses in fantasy football world.
100%. But I feel that it's Jimmy to Carolina because he fits Ben McAdoo's system. They have guys that fit exactly what Jimmy wants to do. DJ Moore is a similar.
That guy's everywhere.
Exactly. Is a similar player to Deebo Samuel. Get the ball to Christian McCaffrey on choice routes out of the backfield. I think the thing is, and here's, look, I see people talking about Cleveland, and I see that. Here's the thing. The issue with Cleveland is ongoing. I think we realize that is as abstract as it gets at this point, because we're trying to figure out what's going on with Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
It's clear that Cleveland thought that Deshaun Watson was going to get some sort of suspension. They didn't suspect that 40 other women were going to pop out while they were there. Okay. But that goes to show that they didn't do any research. Extensive research. Right. Okay. The NFL is trying to prove a point to them. We'll let you get this trade off. You can trade all those assets to the Houston Texans, but the NFL is going to prove a point to them for two reasons. One, while someone is under this type of scrutiny, you traded all that for. We're going to teach you a lesson. And two, the NFL owners are not happy. Fully guaranteed contract.
Oh, they're pissed.
Yes. So, two things. They grabbed Jacoby Brissett knowing that Deshaun Watson was going to miss games. Right. It sounds like the minimum that Deshaun Watson will see, the minimum is a year.
Right.
I think that the Cleveland Browns are fully set to go with Jacoby Brissett for the year. And that doesn't mean that Jacoby Brissett is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me explain that one more time, because people seem to lose that when we talk about these things. Daniel Jones isn't better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but the New York Giants aren't going to waste a year of what they can get out of him and see what they can get out of him with Brian Daboll to get Jimmy Garoppolo. That doesn't mean that Daniel Jones is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Their plan, and this is the Cleveland Browns, their plan is to roll with Jacoby Brissett. And you know what else? Jacoby Brissett can win games in this league. You can win with him. The other thing is, moving Jimmy Garoppolo to the Cleveland Browns does not make them a contender in a stacked AFC.
Right.
The AFC is absolutely loaded. Russell Wilson went to Denver. The Chargers are ready.
Yeah.
The Raiders are good.
Yes.
Did you forget the Chiefs still live there? The
Mhm.
Colts are good now.
Mhm.
The Bills are ready to
Mhm.
go. Did you forget Lamar Jackson still plays football?
Who?
Who?
Big Truz?
So moving Jimmy Garoppolo to the Cleveland Browns, sure, it might make you a fringe wildcard team, even with that roster.
Right.
You're not winning a championship with him. You're not. And Jacoby Brissett, this is the part that's going to get people upset. Jacoby Brissett's not better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jacoby Brissett can put them in that same fringe wild card spot for much less money. Much less money.
Fraction of the cost.
That's why the Cleveland Browns are not going after Jimmy Garoppolo. They're not. They're just not. Jacoby Brissett can do what Baker Mayfield did. They can't. Carolina, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jeremy Fowler is letting everybody know there's something going on where there's like a handshake, wink, wink agreement. Hey, when he could throw the football again, we're going to get rid of it. That's it. So sorry that I talked for so long, but yeah, I just wanted to get that out there about the Browns. I wanted to get that out there about the Browns because everybody's like, well, the Browns are ready to win. Jimmy Garoppolo's not turning the Browns into a Super Bowl contender. Sorry, guys. I know that you guys have seen the 49ers do it, but that's more of a testament to the coaching and how talented that roster is than it is what Jimmy Garoppolo can do for the Cleveland Browns.
And I also, to kind of piggyback, I think the real thing that is stopping any of that momentum is the dollar amount. And to the point that you made, like Jacoby Brissett, who was a teammate of Jimmy Garoppolo at one point. Again, they were both in the news recently with the Julian Edelman quotes on I Am Athlete and all that good stuff. I would say Jacoby Brissett is a plus backup. Like,
yes.
So if he has to move into a starter role, it's not like he can't. I think he is capable. So what you're having to weigh there, if you're in the Browns organization, is do we take two guys that are pretty similar? Obviously, Jimmy Garoppolo has a proven track record opposed to Brissett, but are you willing to pay $25 million for that, or stick with the guy who got a 1 year, like $3 million deal? That's where the conversation completely shifts.
And Brad, let me ask you a question. Let's just say the suspension isn't just a year; it's indefinite. So you bring Jimmy Garoppolo in. Let's just say, what do? Do you sign him again after his year? Now you have to pay him again while you're waiting.
Basically a rental, right?
Right. So it none of the Cleveland stuff lines up in terms of what you can do. The Carolina stuff, it links up because he fits Ben McAdoo's offense. He fits with those pieces.
Yep.
And that is a team. Yeah, and Matt Rule is desperate to latch on to some sort of winning. And hey, Matt Rule, if you're watching this, if you need somebody who the team will rally around, who will win you games, I guarantee you is Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm not even being disingenuous. And
we know.
the buzz out of OTAs, is they were so disappointed with Sam Darnold that's the reason that they had to look back at Baker Mayfield. Like, Sam Darnold is so broken and so the same guy that they said, man, we cannot do this again, like, for another year. So, yes, it's got to be Carolina. If you're watching this, no one will galvanize your locker room. No one will galvanize your locker room like Jimmy Garoppolo. No one.
After the Cam Newton, Sam Darnold kind of back and forth with all that, we'll just move past that. Allow Matt Corral to learn from a Jimmy Garoppolo. Look at Jimmy, what he did with Trey. Look at the way that mentorship worked. Again, Trey Lance said, that's my best friend in the whole world. So bring on Jimmy over to the Panthers. He will help build up. Hold up.
Again, Sam Darnold had a great OTAs. All the reports from the guy from The Athletic who covers your team said the reason that they opened up the discussion for Baker Mayfield is because he still was trying to fit in balls where there were guys that he didn't even see. So if that's a Panthers guy, I implore you to look at your beat writers and not me. I'm going off their reports. I wasn't at OTAs. I am replying from what they have been seeing. And I would implore you to look at them and not me.
It is crystal clear that the Panthers are done with Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold's cooked.
I've never seen it publicly addressed in a way like this, where it's like not even an option. Like they just don't want Sam Darnold. Like it was a complete and utter mistake. And they're like, oh, we'll take Baker Mayfield over Sam Darnold after they've already said they don't want Baker, but they're like, crap, we don't want Sam though.
Right, Brad. We're out. No, you know what? After OTAs, we're back in. We're back in. No, hold up. Wait a second. We didn't say we're out. We were kind of just saying
that was a joke. We were testing you guys. We punked you. We got you. We got you on the line now. Like, no, like Sam Darnold is toast in Carolina. Like it is not like I've never seen anything like it. And again, to the point, like we're just joking about, but they literally said, we are not interested in Baker. Baker's camp came out, said, we are not interested in the Panthers. And then almost immediately they're like, wait a second. We'll kick the tires on Baker. And since then it's been like this fake Baker hype. That's not, it's fake. It's just for media consumption in the sense of leverage, right? Leverage, feeling like they are looking for Jimmy Garoppolo ultimately, but they don't want to overextend again, like they overextended for Sam Darnold. And they understand they don't get 2 years of team control, 3 years they got 1 year of an extremely expensive team controlled asset at quarterback who's coming off a surgery. So it's not like a slam dunk for the Panthers, but I think they're very aware that they are out of options, and Scott Fitterer is going to be on the hot. We know Matt Rule is as good as gone if they have a losing season, but that shifts to the GM as well, who has done a pretty decent job of drafting and building the team around them. But that goes out.
You wanted
exactly. But it goes out the window when you can't get the quarterback position right, and you miss so badly on Sam Darnold. It puts all that stuff, like fans don't care at a certain point. They're just like, you can't get the quarterback right. So we want someone who is going to get us the quarterback right. At least Jimmy Garoppolo, for all the trash he gets, he can bring a level of stability that veterans have. Yes.
Competency.
And I've been there before. I've been to the mountaintop, maybe didn't actually reach the ultimate goal, but he's been there. He's proven that, hey, he'll put the 49ers, in a bit of a hole, but he's also proven to get them out of the hole. It's like it's a double-edged sword with Jimmy, but it's also the intangible aspects. He is a good leader. He's a locker room guy. Take it for what it's worth. They need that right now. So seems like a good fit, but ultimately, do you feel like the 49ers are going to have to eat a huge portion of that contract in order to facilitate a trade? Or do you think they're just going to sit and wait and say, Panthers, it's up to you to come and just take the entire thing, take his whole, I think it's 26.9 million, and just take it? What do you think it comes down to?
It won't be a large portion. And let's be clear, what Jimmy Garoppolo is being paid to be a starter somewhere is still peanuts compared to upper echelon quarterbacks.
Right.
Like, he's only going to be making, I think Sam Darnold's, what is Sam Darnold's 5th-year option that they picked up? 23? 23?
That's up there. Yeah,
so $3 million for a winner with a jawline who can galvanize your locker room? If the 49ers took on, let's just say the injury guarantee of it, the 7, right? And they paid 21 for a winner? Come on, man. That's peanuts. That is peanuts for a starting quarterback. That's it, bro. Like, it's not 18.5. So 18.5. Okay. That's a lot, actually. That's way more. His 5th-year option was 18.5, and he was what, the number 3 pick? 4?
3 or 4. One of those.
Okay. All right, so that is a substantial upgrade. But when you're talking about starting quarterbacks in this league who have done things, that's not a lot. That's not a lot for a quarterback. So I think the 49ers will have to eat some of that. That's fine. But if the Carolina Panthers send a pick, the 49ers will eat whatever it is that they need to eat, $7 million, $8 million. That's cool.
What do you think that pick looks like?
Oh man, in my best case scenario, in the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness,
Optimistic, like
third round,
Yep,
third
I
round,
agree.
third round. Just give us that third rounder and we'll be fine with that. And that's what the 49ers eat. The 49ers eat from 3 to 5. And,
Fred Warner's a third rounder,
and so is Kittle,
so
right?
he's fifth rounder, but
Fifth rounder. So 3 to 5. Yeah, like 3 to
still good
5.
value.
That's what
Yeah,
that's what they eat.
absolutely.
Yep.
They do eat in those middle rounds. So do you think there is a world though that exists, because you kind of alluded to it earlier? I actually saw the audio from you. I think you had reposted it yesterday. I saw it today before we came on, of Matt Mayoko talking about this situation, and I think he pretty much said, like, I would kind of be shocked at this point if Jimmy Garoppolo gets moved. Do you think that's a range of outcome? And if that happens and no Panthers come calling, no Browns pick up the phone, do a price check, what happens then?
They have to make the right decision and cut him. And I think that's ultimately what Jimmy's been and his camp has been pushing for, so they can pick their own spot in their own way, right?
Right.
They just have to do it at
Sign a
this point.
deal, I think, for pretty much whatever they want. Like, it doesn't have to be this 25, 26, 27 hanging over their head. They can just
No.
start fresh.
You have to cut the cord and just get it done and rip the Band-Aid off. Because if you're Jimmy Garoppolo, let's just say you're Jimmy Garoppolo, and the 49ers come to you and they say, well, we'd like to keep you as the backup, but we need you to take less money. What do you as Jimmy Garoppolo say? No. I want every single dollar. Yeah, cut me. I want every single dollar or cut me. That's it. Why would you take less money? And I would push this to anybody who has, everybody who's watching this has a job. Mm-hmm. Your boss says, I want you to have someone ahead of you and you train this person and I want you to take less money. You would say the same exact thing. So yeah, you got to cut it. You have to cut it.
Give me my severance package or pay me my money.
Yeah, that's it.
Absolutely.
That's it.
It will be ongoing. I guarantee you, Jason, it will not be the last time that we talk about this. Before we get into Justin's question here, do us a favor. Make sure you smash the like button and, of course, subscribe to both Jason Aponte's channel. Here you can see on the screen. Make sure you like it up, sub it up, do all that good stuff. You know the vibes. You know it helps us out. We really do appreciate all the support. It's really good to see everyone back for the State of the Franchise. It's been too long. But Justin wants to know.
A lot of the State of Franchise episodes on YouTube popping up too, man.
I've noticed that.
That's kind of funny. I'm glad you saw it too, because I thought I was tripping a little bit.
Hey, we're trendsetters, baby.
Hey,
you know the vibe.
You know what? Hey, do your thing, man. You love it, but just make sure you know.
Just cut the check. That's it. Hey, you do what you want to do. Just cut the check. That's it.
Not even cut the check. Like, say thank you, appreciate you, bro. Like,
just a little attaboy will do.
Keep going.
I love it. Pet Boys up this year. Let's go. Justin says, would Jimmy take 2 years of playing in Carolina and split his $20 million contract over 2 years? Worst case for him, he's got job security 1 more year. What do you think about that?
That would be on the Panthers to do that, but they just drafted Matt Corral. And then I would ask the Panthers this. Does Jimmy Garoppolo push you to a championship? The answer is no. Does Jimmy Garoppolo put butts in the seats and you might win a game or two here or there under him and feel good? Yeah. But again, plans. Let Corral play at this point. Like, see what you have in the kid. You're done with Darnold. Right? Like, PJ Walker's not the answer behind him, even though PJ Walker is an amazing story and he's played, he's played his, 100%. I will not slander PJ Walker. But in Jimmy's case, this is the best. But for Jimmy right now, what Jimmy's going to do next year, no matter where it is that he plays, if he does play, is auditioning himself for another role the year after because his contract's over. So if the Panthers decide to do this, that's good for Jimmy. But I would ask Jimmy, like, I would ask the Panthers, what are you doing? Like, why did you draft Corral? Like, you should let Corral cook. Like, you could win. You'll win 8 games, 9 games with Jimmy, maybe, but that's not enough to push me away from trying to see what the kid has. And here we are with the Panthers and me right now in this decision, and us kind of talking about this situation that we've had with the 49ers the entire time with Jimmy. But yeah, I think that the Panthers want to roll with Corral. And if they want to have a stopgap right now this year, which is what Jimmy is, this is why the Panthers make sense. Jimmy is here to stopgap, be in front of another guy, and he did a great job with Lance from all accounts. And then he can audition for another team next year. Yes. So that's why the Panthers feel like they make more sense. He wouldn't be with the Browns because then he's just, again, another lame duck quarterback. When Deshaun Watson comes back, get out, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, that's the thing.
It feels like it could be a reclamation project for both parties. Right. You could allow Jimmy to show he can win in other places outside of Kyle Shanahan. It's not just Kyle. It's not just the scheme. It's not just the talent. Shows he can go to a quarterback coach, Matt Rule. It's kind of on the downside right now from public perception. They win some games. They do some damage in their division, which I think for the most part, Tom Brady returned right to Tampa. You got Jameis on the Saints. Like it will be a competitive division, but for the most part, the Panthers have done a pretty solid job of building the roster. You just get someone in there who can manage them, keep them in contention. They could be in a potential, we talked about, a fringe playoff spot. So we'll see what happens, but I would kind of agree with you too. I don't know if I'd want to hitch. If I'm the Panthers, I don't know if I'd want to hitch, or Jimmy for that matter, my wagon to the Panthers for 2 years. Get that 1 year going. All you need is that what have you done for me lately, recency bias. And if it goes in the right direction, Jimmy could then leverage a single year into another big payday. If he really does turn it around and turn around the Panthers, that will only elevate his stock ultimately in the long run. So I would imagine it would be a 1 year situation. The Panthers would have to pay for it, but kind of Jimmy too. It's a situation where they need each other, right? Because outside of that, what's Jimmy doing this year? My biggest issue though with cutting Jimmy is I don't want to see him go to Seattle. Like, I know a lot. I get it. Like, it's Jimmy, and Jimmy has shown a propensity to put himself in bad positions and put the team in bad positions at times. But something tells me, my gut is telling me, he goes up there with gum chewing Pistol Pete. The vibes start flowing. Jimmy feels comfortable. He doesn't have Shanahan yelling down his neck every 2 seconds for not reading the safety or the underback linebackers. You got Pistol Pete putting his arm around. Well, it's all good. We'll figure it out. I can't lose to Seattle Seahawks 2 years in a row with Jimmy Garoppolo at the helm. I can't do it. I'll be on suicide watch.
Nah, Brad. I think you got it backwards.
Walk me off the ledge, my boy. Walk me off the ledge.
The electricity of the home opener, Jimmy Garoppolo versus Trey Lance.
That would be fire.
Give it. Give it.
But, flip side, if they lost, Trey Lance led 49ers lose to the Jimmy Garoppolo led. Oh my, you know those Twitter streets. The blood would be pouring. You would have the NFL draft scout swinging. I was going to say the Raptors.
Daniel Kelly lobs all day, and whoever it is that just like are always parked in my mentions saying a bunch of nonsense.
I don't want it. I don't even want the chance of it to happen.
You know what, man? I love chaos. I want it. I'd love it. And you know what? I think it would be cool too, right? Like in this way. He comes back, home opener. 49er fans, you deserve to he deserves to be applauded for the things that he's contributed. And that's the thing I think is lost in all of this. We're all in a rush to move on from Jimmy because we wanted to be Trey, right? Like, I get that. And I understand you. But at the same time, it would be kind of cool if Jimmy Garoppolo pulls up in Seattle and he pulls up to the home opener. I'm gonna be at the home opener. That's the game that I have for sure circled. The home opener. This year it'll change. I think hopefully they'll win because you and I went to the home opener last year. But I would applaud Jimmy Garoppolo. I would. He did what he could, and he did what he did, and he rejuvenated this fan base. He rejuvenated this team for the little time. He just couldn't get it done, and that's it. That's the nature of the
I'm not
business.
mad at Jimmy either. I just don't
Me
want him
either.
to beat us. That would
Me
make
either.
me go crazy.
So yeah, I would love it, man. Oh my god, they would. I know you can't flex a week 2 game into like Sunday Night
Oh.
Football, but the NFL would find a way to like make that like the game, man. And
They would put it on a Wednesday just because they could, because I know the whole world would be watching it. Be like, oh my, Trey Lance versus Jimmy Garoppolo. Holy
Trey
hell.
Lance versus Jimmy Garoppolo, and then to be Seattle. What? My goodness, man.
So let's pivot off Jimmy. I think we've beaten that horse pretty good. What do you think about Trey Lance? I don't think we've talked too much since OTAs or minicamp, really. We had Peter Schrager go on to Pat McAfee show today, talk about how Trey Lance has grown leaps and bounds. He's in the building. He's taken over the leadership role. Par for the course with Trey Lance. Everything that we've talked about in the past, it feels like it's moving in the right direction.
Yeah, and Peter Schrager talking about him working out with guys. That's stuff that has been happening. And again, I never really had any question of what Trey could do in terms of leading men and his work ethic. That was never really a question or anything like that. I think that right now we're just stuck in this like dead area. Yeah, exactly. Coach has got it, man.
This would be content would be through the roof, by the way.
Electric. That week while we're doing content to lead up to it would be this emoji. Yes. But the thing about Trey is this, and it's just dead zone time for everybody trying to fill in content. Just let the kid play. Get him to training camp. Let's just see some training camp stuff. Let's see some preseason stuff. And then that's the only way. Like at this point, I think everything that needs to be said about Trey and all the things that you should be excited about have been said. We're all excited. And we just want to see it. And I think that's where we're at. Like we're lucky enough that some of this stuff is coming out that we're able to do content off of, and we're not able to like just reach for content now and just make stuff up.
Right.
But it's time. We just want to see it. I think that's where 49er fans are. They just want to see it. I think that the best way to describe the time with Jimmy Garoppolo is we know exactly what that is. We've seen the ceiling of that. And now we want to know what the ceiling of the unknown is. And that's where we're at. Right. That's it.
Yeah. So it definitely feels like it's a narrative season. It's so dry right now. The 49ers have done I keep talking about, they've done a good job of really kind of feels like simmering things down. They have not been putting out a ton of content, but it does feel like it is strategic in the sense of the dogs have been barking, and we've been barking a lot. And by just kind of slowing things down, kind of feels like people like, oh, well, let's go watch the Warriors, or let's go do this, let's go do that. And it kind of, it doesn't become as big of a topic anymore. Obviously, it's starting to pick up now because we're hearing the reports Jimmy Garoppolo's throwing that then reignites the conversations around the quarterback. But it is narrative season. Until something happens, nothing's happening. So let's talk a little bit about some 49ers football, though. I saw you tweeting about some PFF lists. What are your thoughts on some of these lists that PFF has been? Feels like PFF, I'm trying to decide or discern if they're trying to lightweight start some stuff with 49er fans this year, because they know we are an active group and we defend our own. And it might not look positive, but hell, it generates engagement for sure.
So I'm going to stop attacking PFF because I don't want that to become my brand. Okay, because somebody was like, oh, this is so on brand for you.
Bro, Spicy Aponte is the brand, though.
Yeah, but not against just one particular base, right? Like, or just one particular news outlet. The thing is so many national media or just media outlets have realized shake the hornet's nest of the 49er fan base.
Hell
So
yeah.
PFF pissed me off the other day. Who should be quarterback one? Trey Lance or Jimmy
Oh my
Garoppolo?
gosh, that post was ridiculous.
You know exactly what you're doing,
100.
right? With that. Okay. Now, they do have these lists that are coming out in terms of secondary, and they just did linebackers. I don't think they did front four yet. So I didn't see that today, unless they're just like unveiling that on another day. But I will say this. I don't really have any issues with the way that PFF has ranked the 49ers secondary, which was number 16 in the league. But it was in a tier, which was tier 3 under ascending units. And that's a fair description.
Yeah.
It's oddly enough, the ones that they were right behind were the Carolina Panthers. See how that works? But then my issues with that is they have Emmanuel Mosley starting, Charvarius Ward starting, and Jason Verrett at nickel corner. Well, for two reasons that doesn't work. One, we don't necessarily know the health of Jason Verrett, and
Right.
two, if Jason Verrett was healthy, you're not going to put Jason Verrett in a place where he needs to run fit and put his body in harm's way and tackle
Oh, he's
running
a
backs
coverage
at
guy.
exactly. He's a boundary corner. The person
Yes.
that would be in nickel would be Emmanuel Mosley, and you would have Ward and Verrett if that was the case. So that was my first issue with the secondary thing. The second issue was replacement level safety play that they had. Okay, you want to say that about Jaquiski Tart? I say no, but that's your opinion. But then doesn't safety play imply Jimmy Ward?
Mhm.
There's two safeties. That was my issue. Like I'm
They
just
only
like
talked about one?
right, like they're just like replacement level safety play, and then everybody's like, "Well, yeah, Hufanga played and Tart. What about Jimmy Ward? That's not
Yeah. He's one of
replacement
the top
level.
safeties in the league right now.
That's not replacement level." So the problem that I had was you made the ranking. I have no problem with where you rank them, especially in that tier, because you're talking about their ascending. But how much do you know about this team? How much do you know about what's going on with the team? And if you are a PFF who is in bed with the NFL, why don't you know? That's the question that I have. That was my pushback on that. Didn't have a problem with the ranking. Didn't have a problem, and I don't want to be this guy who continuously every time PFF puts out a list like, oh, they're garbage, they're garbage. I don't want to do that. I just had problems with the reasoning. And
Right.
that was my issue with the secondary list, not the linebacker list. And we'll talk about that in a second. I just want to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think the ranking is okay. We understand Emmanuel Mosley, when in, he has been locked down, but he has been dealing with injuries. It started last year in training camp. Remember, you and I were there, and we're looking at no Emmanuel
Dante
Mosley.
Johnson.
Kwaski was out. Jason Verrett was kind of off to the side. And so you're looking at the depth, and you're just like, oh, man. We're seeing Ambry Thomas out there. The Ambry Thomas, by all accounts, it's lightweight, not having the best training camp. So we were looking at it. We're just like, ooh. But once these guys get onto the field, we understand they have the potential to be a top tier unit in the league, but it's more of a continuity thing. You add Charvarius Ward to the mix. We don't know what the defense changes to, because I look at Charvarius Ward addition and I see more man and moving away from zone, which is what they have been historically, which changes the dynamic of the offense or defense completely, and changes the coverage group, changes the type of scheming they're doing. So that in of itself is a unknown. Like, we don't know what that man coverage press man looks like, how locked down they're going to be in those situations. But the idea is that they will take a step forward, that when you have the pass rush and the defensive line that they do, you have the coverage linebackers, which, like you said, we'll get to, but then you have your press man corners on the outside just locking dudes up at the line of scrimmage, throwing off timing between the route concepts and everything, then allowing your defensive line to get pressure. And then the way those two relate to each other, it feels like they have an opportunity to be really, really good. And if you have a healthy Jason Verrett, and I, like you were talking about, I think you're exactly right. You're not kicking Verrett into the nickel. Verrett is a Pro Bowl caliber coverage corner, not a like K'Wan Williams who's going to be the shark and just blitz, come off the edge, go against tackles, make his pay in the run game. Like that's what we think of nickel. At least that's what I think of nickel. So I see a situation where you keep Charvarius Ward on the outside, you bump Emmanuel Moseley inside on those third down situations where they're running 3 wide receiver, 4 wide receiver. You can kick Emmanuel in to either play big slots, play tight ends in the slot. He can be that physical type cornerback you need. You keep Charvarius manned up on your number 1 wide receiver or whatever side he's commanding, and you stick Jason Verrett on the outside. And then that's what the unit looks like. And like you talked about, you can't omit Jimmy Ward. You cannot omit Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward might be one of the most underrated safeties, but at the same time, he's still one of the best safeties. And with Jaquiski not there anymore, we understand Talanoa's taking into that role. We have some concerns with the development, but by all accounts, it sounds like he is developing like we would have hoped. So 16 is fair, but I agree 100%. The description and the way it was conceptualized could, I think, have been done a lot better.
And that's all I had. That's the only thing is that people are like, and then we'll talk. Let's get to the linebacker group because I had a lot of complaints on Twitter about, well, they ranked the 49ers linebacker group number 1 and you found some reasons to complain.
What were those reasons?
But the reasons were this. Don't talk to me about top 2 linebackers about this team and tell me you're leaving off Azeez Al-Shaair. Tell me you didn't watch this team for 1 minute. The reason that the 49ers linebacker group was ranked number 1 by PFF, and rightfully so, is because of Azeez Al-Shaair, not because of Dre Greenlaw. If it was Dre Greenlaw and Fred Warner alone, they would not be number 1. This is why they have 3 guys that can ultimately do anything that you ask. Azeez Al-Shaair was asked to wear the green dot in Seattle. And going into Seattle, right, and he had the best game of his career.
Yes.
And
it's not remembered because they lost and people just kind of let it slip out their memory.
And the thing is, he almost had his Dre Greenlaw moment, which is the reason that many 49er fans
love Dre Greenlaw.
Continue to just say, Dre Greenlaw is better than Azeez Al-Shaair, even though, Dre Greenlaw played 4 games last year. And Azeez Al-Shaair was largely a stud the entire year. And for some stretches, come close real quick, was the best linebacker playing on this team during certain stretches. Not the best linebacker on this team, because that's still Fred Warner.
Right.
The problem is
he performed at the best level.
Right. The problem is PFF is like, well, Dre Greenlaw comes back at the end of the year and formed a top 2 linebacker duo. What happened to Azeez Al-Shaair? What happened to the guy who largely held this team down? And I don't forget, on Twitter, many of you, Fred got the bag and he's falling off. And no. That's not true at all. But Azeez Al-Shaair did ball his ass off the entire year. So PFF, I have to ask you again, do you watch this team? Do you watch them? Do you know what's going on? And the reason that all 3 are there is because that's why they're ranked number 1, is because of all 3 of them. It's not, if it was the 2 of them, they wouldn't be ranked number 1. I'm telling you this right now. But the 3 of them are the reason that this linebacker core is number 1. So what I got upset with was the disrespect of Azeez Al-Shaair. That's it. I don't understand. The guy took strides in covering, which is what you love Dre Greenlaw for because it's a converted safety.
Right.
Literally the interception in Minnesota, all you have to do is go and watch that again and watch who's the first guy running down there, smacking him on the helmet. It's his defensive coordinator, former linebacker coach. That's the thing, is PFF continues to surface level analyze this team much like the national media does. So again, I don't want to make this like me against PFF. It's just when I read your description and you say when Dre Greenlaw came back at the end of the year, they formed this. Where was this praise for the guy who played 13, 14 straight games and was dominant? And that's Azeez Al-Shaair. That's my rant.
Yeah. And I want to piggyback on that is like I 100% hear where you're coming from, because when you do look back at last season, Azeez Al-Shaair was the alpha in that linebacker room. Now, in the sense of play on the field, we understand Fred is the leader. He is the true alpha in regards to leadership, just being that guy. But when it came to comparing play on the field, Fred talked about it. Fred openly spoke about how I think he got paid, the expectations of that paycheck on top of being a captain, on top of being a leader, and just like it being to fruition, because he isn't a hype guy. He was a guy, third round draft pick out of BYU. Was he a safety? Was he a nickel? Was he an edge? Who the hell is Fred? What position is he going to play? Didn't have no Micah Parsons hype, none of that. And so his rise has been very organic. And so I think with Fred, he was dealing with a lot of the self pressure from that situation.
Brad,
I see you. Coach, I see the smoke coming out of your ears.
Coach, I got you. And I don't disagree with anything you're saying right now, Coach. I'm going to address this in a second. But I see someone who just said Azeez overruns plays and misses tackles, though still a baller. Anybody who has Game Pass, I implore you to go to the Detroit Lions game in which Dre Greenlaw got injured. Dre Greenlaw is the one that you just said about Azeez Al-Shaair. Literally, Fred Warner runs down the field after a long run from Jamal Williams and runs into Dre Greenlaw's face because Dre Greenlaw fills a gap that Fred is already filling that allows Jamal Williams to run through. That is absolutely not true. And anybody who is telling you that is trying to either just telling you something that someone told them or just not seeing what they should see. Dre Greenlaw is actually the one who runs into the wrong gap and allows runs to go the other way and go through him. He's the one who overruns tackles. And another example I will give you, it's on the film. It's on the film. So I'm not just making this up. Go back and watch it, please. I implore you. Game Pass is $9.99 right now for you to go back and look at the last year. So I implore anybody to do this. Seattle, 2020. DK Metcalf catches a slant. Dre Greenlaw takes an absolute abhorrent angle. And what does DK Metcalf do? Runs around him and takes it to the crib. I implore you guys to, as the great Rich Madrid says, watch more film.
Watch the tape, pal.
It's there. Dre Greenlaw didn't play that much this year, so you can't see it because he got injured in the first game of the season. It's there. And anyone who wants to have any sort of discourse with me, hit me on Twitter. I'll send you the game clips, and we'll do this. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything like that. I'm respectful to everybody's opinions. Let's talk about it. But to say Azeez Al-Shaair is the one who overruns his gaps and lets guys go through when Dre Greenlaw is the main culprit of this early on this season is something that I would love to debate with anybody. But let's get to Coach's comment because I respect Coach a lot and I want to get to his thing.
If you couldn't tell, Aponte talks about this quite a bit and he comes ready. So if you want to debate Spicy Aponte on this topic, you better come with clips.
I'm not, and I'm
you
not,
better come ready.
And I'm not the end all be all either, by the way. I just want to say I have opinions and I've watched it. I've watched it over and over and over and over. I've watched it. Literally, there's one play in that Detroit game that sticks out in my mind. Dre Greenlaw runs into the gap that Fred Warner's in, and then Jamal Williams runs for 30 yards the other way. And Fred Warner, who never calls anyone out on the field, gets into Dre Greenlaw's face and says, "Dude, what are you doing? He was here." And Greenlaw's like, and everybody remembers Greenlaw gets the pick six. It all gets kind of swept under the rug. There's a lot of plays in a football game. You have to watch. You have to watch more and more and more. I'm telling you right now, Azeez Al-Shaair, not only by just being on the field because Greenlaw was injured, outplayed Greenlaw, but when Azeez played when Greenlaw was there, outplayed Greenlaw past year. That's it. But let's talk about Coach's thing, and then we'll get to the other thing. That's it.
Yeah, for sure. Coach says, in all honesty, are we really in love with him? A true God.
He said disregard the first. I saw his comment. He said disregard the first sentence to go from if you remember.
Okay. I'm like, man, my ADHD is dying right now. If you remember, Fred struggled a lot early. That's because Azeez played so free. DG is the better linebacker. Fred crawled so Azeez could play free. What do you think about that?
I don't disagree with the sentiment. It's just from what I saw, there was many times, and it happened in 2019 also, but because Dre made that play in week 17, again, I implore you guys, you guys aren't going to be as critical in games where the 49ers win big games, right? Like, you're not going to go back and look and say, well, Dre missed here because Dre had the interception in Seattle against Seattle, right? And he almost like brought them back. It's there. There's little cookie crumbs. There's little crumbs of it, like being there, right? But the coaching staff doesn't agree with me. So here, this is another thing that I'm going to throw out at myself. The coaching staff doesn't agree with me. They don't. Because when Greenlaw came back, he played more snaps than Azeez. He did. And that's good. But in week 18, you could see Dre was playing overly aggressive, meaning he had some penalties that could have happened. And why is that? Because he felt Azeez coming. He feels someone coming for his spot. And that's natural. And if you don't believe me, believe the team. What was the round tender that they put on Azeez Al-Shaair this year? On his contract?
Right?
Second round. Yeah. That's not somebody that you don't care about. Right. Azeez Al-Shaair was just an undrafted free agent. And you put a second round tender on him? Where did they draft Dre Greenlaw?
Fifth.
Okay. That's all I'm just going to put out there. But again, I'm not the end-all be-all. I'm here to exchange ideas. That's it. I'm not trying to be, a dick or anything like that.
No, this is healthy debate.
Let's exchange. Let's just exchange ideas. Get to Coach's thing.
Yeah, and Coach says, to be clear, I love all the linebackers, but I just saw Fred play a lot more tentative with Azeez on the field, which could be true. But like we said, it could also be just a detriment to Fred and the pressure he was putting on himself, not the fact that it was necessarily, oh, well, I got to play with Azeez and we got to balance each other. It felt like Fred was kind of pressing a little bit. Coach goes on to say there wasn't enough trust. His opinion, as he's saying, I prefer the pair of Fred and Dre. They play well together, which they have played well together.
And the league is shifting to smaller linebackers who can cover. This is it. The game is speed now. And I understand that portion of it. And Coach has a very good opinion here, and he knows his shit. Like I'm not again, it's just we were talking about the PFF linebacker thing, and for them to say that the number one linebacking group is because of Dre Greenlaw, it's like, dude, he didn't even play last year. Azeez Al-Shaair played last year. And Azeez Al-Shaair, when he had the green dot. Now, I would ask this to anybody out there. If you gave Dre Greenlaw the same position in Seattle in a big game like that, to wear the green dot, call the plays, be everywhere, would Dre Greenlaw have played in the same way that Azeez had? In my opinion, I would say no. And a lot of the things that I saw from Azeez in terms of his growth has shown me a little bit more than the steps back I saw a little bit from Dre Greenlaw and what he put on tape this past year in the small sample size that he was there. That's another thing. That's the caveat, I think, is the hardest part to gauge in this. I do love Azeez, and I do prefer him over Dre, but how much of that has to do with the fact that Dre was injured this entire year? So again, I'm not trying to tell you I know better than anybody because I don't. I have an opinion just like all you guys do, and I'm not trying to dismiss anyone else's opinion or be, dismissive in that way. But it's an interesting conundrum because this is what makes the 49ers linebacker group the best in the league, that we can have discussions like this. Right. No one else can have discussions like this, and that's my initial point with the PFF list, was you just immediately talking about Dre Greenlaw without missing the fact that Azeez Al-Shaair was the one who played next to Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw didn't play the entire year was the part that got me hot. It didn't make me mad that they were ranked number one. They should be ranked number one, but they're ranked number one because of all three of them. All three. That's the thing.
And the beautiful thing about this conversation is that no one is saying that any one of these linebackers are bad linebackers. We're just expressing critiques that we have in everyone's game. But when we take a step back, we're still like, yeah, these dudes are dogs. Like these guys are 100% worthy of being the number one. Just to the point, let's give Azeez some shine too. Greenlaw gets a lot of shine, and he's made a lot of big plays for the San Francisco 49ers. Again, to your point, I kind of forgot about it, but when he came back in, dude was flying all over the place. You could tell he'd been missing ball, and he was going 100 miles an hour to his detriment at some certain instances, but not for a lack of effort. And when you take a step back as a 49er fan, that is a beautiful thing to have.
Yes.
When we are debating the second and third linebacker and being like, nah, this dude's damn near the best linebacker on the entire. Oh no, the third linebacker. Now he's number one. Now number two. What about Oren Burks? We added Oren Burks to the roster. Like, what's he gonna look like? That dude looks like a monster himself. Like, this linebacker core is legit. It's locked and loaded, and the fact that we can have these conversations, like, beautiful. I love it.
That's a beautiful thing. Any team would be happy with that. And that's the point. I'm just laughing at Brian's comment. Did PFF rank the kickers asking for a friend? Everybody just knows how to get me riled up when it comes to this. But yeah, at the same time, that was just my thing, realistically. It sounds like this coaching staff doesn't agree with me. They don't. And that's fine. And that's why I'm just a guy, behind a bunch of Batman pop figures, give it my opinion. They do believe that Dre Greenlaw is their best chance to be out there. And remember, they drafted him, everything. But then when you look at the second round tender that they put on an undrafted free agent and they're not going to let him walk, it goes to show you that they are happy with everything that's going on. And how much of what Dre Greenlaw offered in terms of snaps had to do with the fact that Azeez Al-Shaair was banged up. In fact, to the point that he went through a surgery that he couldn't go through OTAs. He'll be fine for training camp, but all of those things have a lot to do with everything. It's a great problem to have. But the reason that the 49ers are ranked number one as a linebacker group is because of all three. And if it was just two, either way, if it was Fred and Azeez, they still might not be number one. If it was Fred and Greenlaw, they still might not be number one. The reason they're number one is because of Fred, Azeez, and Dre. So I guess that's a common ground that we can all get on.
Absolutely. And it's going to mean a lot of good things for the 49ers defense because they are led by the linebacker in DeMeco Ryans, who is the DC back for a year. Two, again, we've talked about it a bunch. We saw a lot of DeMeco kind of reacting last year. I think we're going to see DeMeco hunting this year, especially with the pieces he has, the depth they have. So I'm really excited about the 49ers defense. We got into both cornerbacks and linebackers. And ultimately, when we take the step back from the conversation, the step back is 49ers are in a good spot with who they brought in, who they have, the correlations and relations that they have in playing together. And again, your point too, Azeez, that was his first year getting ample playing time. Dre has been getting tons of playing time since 2019. And so you have to also understand there is probably still a little bit of a learning curve, things playing out of position in certain instances. But overall, you take a step back, body of work, dude was on point. And like we both agree, he was the best linebacker from a performance standpoint. Not
for
saying
stretches.
For stretches.
Exactly.
Fred Warner picked it up at the end of the year.
Yeah, Fred Warner was absolutely magical, like down the stretch. I do not want that to be lost.
It clicked for him. Like that thing, he was like in quicksand a little bit, and he's like he got himself out of it, and it was just like our linebackers. Like I feel go back to the Bengals game, bro. Like
I feel like it was the Tennessee game that he remember. So there's the play in there where AJ Brown runs the jet sweep. And Fred, like a missile, runs into the backfield. And AJ Brown is a giant man. Fred grabbed him and tossed him like a rag doll. And I was like, oh my God, Fred's back. And again, how much of that has to do with, what coach alluded to, like being acclimated to other, linebackers, or how much of that has to do with Fred putting a little bit more pressure on himself because he got the bag. And he even alluded to him himself. I need to play a little bit better. I need to do a little bit more. But that just speaks to the leader that he is and the type of player he is. But Fred was incredible down the stretch. And I feel like that Tennessee game was the game that he kind of turned it on. And it was just like, I got it again.
And I love the Bengals game because that was the time it was Ambry Thomas, it was Josh Norman at cornerback, and going up against Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Like, come on, bro. Like, that's not fair. The 49ers, honestly, had no business winning that game. But D'Amico Ryans, again, put a lot of onus on those linebackers to be able to lock down basically the middle of the field with both safeties over top locking down the middle and basically the whole back end, where you just had the cornerbacks playing essentially in the flat almost, and everyone else did all the work. And I think, we saw it just completely open up the whole linebacker room. And what will ultimately lead to, like PFF ranked, this is the dopest linebacker room in the entire NFL, led by one of the best young defensive coordinators in the entire NFL with a loaded roster. I'm telling you guys, like, I don't know about you, Jason, but it feels like we got some top 5 potential. I've gone out on a limb and be like, this defense could be the best defense in the league. But of course,
let me get spicy.
We can throw around.
No, let me get spicy. This defense is going to be better than last year.
Yes, facts.
How? It will. Facts. Because now, for a fact, you have secondary that can cover it. Charvarius Ward is not here just as a crazy signing. And if Drake Jackson is even 65% of what Dee Ford offered on passing downs,
yes,
God help everyone. And if Javon Kinlaw plays, and he plays to his potential in terms of run stuffing, and then even adds a little bit more, only weakness is corners. Hey, man.
He's trolling.
Emmanuel Mosley was the best corner on this team and gave up 0 tutties last year. Charvarius Ward has allowed the least amount of completion in terms of completion percentage since 2019. And you just added him. And if Jason Verrett shows up, God help everyone. There is no trolling. The cornerbacks are not. This is the best cornerback room the 49ers have had during the Shanahan-Lynch era. And Richard Sherman played. And Richard Sherman played in 2019 when they went. It was Richard Sherman and Ahkello Witherspoon. In terms of athleticism, okay, I can give you that, maybe. But
K1 made that group look a little bit better because he was playing really well at the slot. But we're talking about outside corners. These are the best outside corners that the 49ers have had.
Easy.
You could even go back to like 1995. Like, it's been to your point, in 2019, it was Richard Sherman, Ahkello, and a undrafted free agent, Emmanuel Mosley. You go back to the Harbaugh era, it was Carlos Rogers, Terrell Brown. They were hugely aided. Chris Culliver. They were hugely aided by that insane Vic Fangio 3-4 deep, the freaking outside linebackers, middle linebackers, the interior defensive line, unbelievable. Created so much pressure and allowed the defensive backs to just move freely. This is crazy. This is one of the best defensive back rooms we've seen. I think I've seen since I've been about this.
And since oh God, I don't want to get all crazy, but Dion, Eric Davis, Tim McDonald, Brandon Hanks, look, and on the Old Hey There podcast on Niners Nation, plug that, by the way. Make sure you subscribe to that, an audio for forum only. Rob said something that was really, really, really great on this last podcast. Nick Bosa might have a coverage sack this year. Nick Bosa might have a coverage sack this year because guys are clamped. It's not about him getting to the quarterback immediately. Right. They have married this pass rush which is it's going to keep coming because of the able bodies that they have and the rotation that they run, with guys who have Charvarius Ward has been covering for the last 3 years. This isn't a guy that they just picked up out of nowhere, right?
Right.
Emmanuel Mosley didn't allow much last year. Jimmy Ward is the eraser. That's his name. The one little question mark is just, what will Hufanga do with his extended snaps? But Nick Bosa might have coverage sacks this year. That's insane
That's
that.
funny to think about. I love it, dude. I'm hyped for this defense. I'm telling you, like, that's why when people talk about, and not to go on a tangent or anything, but when people talk about Trey Lance in a vacuum, it's like, bro, this is a team game. Like, it's complementary. Offense has to complement defense. Defense has to complement the offense, and special teams has to complement both. If you want to be successful, you got to be somewhat successful on all three phases, at least 2 out of the 3. You can go far if you are successful on 2 out of the 3. The 49ers have done it. Just go back to the Jim Harbaugh era. 2011. Alex Smith was not world beating anyone. It was run Frank Gore, and run Frank Gore, kick field goals with Akers, then let your defense just absolutely suffocate any opposing offense. And that's how they won football games. Time of possession, elite defense, elite special teams, literally how they went 13-3 off the back of a 6-10 season. Like, the recipe is there. And with Trey Lance, he just has to not make a lot of bad plays. He can make bad plays. He can make wow plays. It just has to be even. If he can be even with it and play within the structure, do all those types of things, this defense, just like it did last year, can carry this team into the playoffs. It doesn't have to be Trey Lance like everyone keeps talking about. Trey Lance can grow at his own pace. If you have this defense playing at a top 5 level, that means they're winning football games from defensive play alone. So that is what's got me so hyped. I know a lot of the focus goes to Trey Lance, all that kind of stuff. What's Trey Lance going to do? Like, okay, I get it. But this defense, man, is special. And I'm very, very excited. Health is wealth here. If they can stay healthy, keep all these bodies on the field, they got the depth now. I'm pretty excited about it, man. I'm pretty freaking excited about it.
And you know what? Most of the time when a rookie cornerback who plays snaps in the NFC Championship and down the stretch becomes your cornerback too. You know what Ambry Thomas is now? Depth.
Cornerback 4.
What are we talking about with this?
He went from CB1 to cornerback 4 in an offseason, basically.
And that's not a knock on Ambry.
No.
It's just this team is locked and loaded on defense, playing complementary football. The 49ers are one of the few teams that can actually play old school football and get away with it. Punch you in the face on defense, keep the game close. We're going to run the ball, punch you in the face on offense, and just make enough plays to beat you and wear you down. And if I could quote the great Marshawn Lynch, not a lot of them will be ready to let a team run over and over and over and over and over.
Straight through
over through your face. Run through a face. That's the goal right there. And this 49ers team, if I'm trying to get you hype, I'm hype. I'm ready to go. It's June. Football's going to be right down next month. Yeah, this team is ready to go. They're loaded.
100%. And I'm loving this conversation. We're talking football now. Let's end it on this question. Yep. Let's get from Baller. Again, make sure we got another content creator in the building. Make sure you show him love.
Yo,
he says
Eric knows his shit too, man. You need to tap in with him.
He says, Brad and Jason, if you had to put a percentage on how often we play man versus zone, what percentage would you figure? I'll toss it to you first.
50-50. And they can do whatever they want. That's the best part about this, is they can do whatever they want. In 2019, they were cover 3. You know why? No disrespect to Uncle Sherman. He couldn't cover people one-on-one like that.
No.
Charvarius Ward
you
can.
Get cooked off the line.
Right. Charvarius Ward can, Emmanuel Mosley can, Jimmy Ward can help you up top, which will help a lot with Hufanga. They can play whatever they want. This is why this team now is the most dangerous, because they can play free and clear in different ways that they've never been able to do during the Shanahan-Lynch era. I will put it at 50-50 at this point. It's going to depend on matchups, but I would say that they can do whatever they want because they played largely zone against Cincinnati when Norman and Ambry were there, because you have to insulate them, right? Like, you can't just leave them out there. Now you have 2-man guys. This is the first time the 49ers have had this. Now imagine if Jason Verrett plays, and imagine what you can do. You can run straight man. You might be able to run straight man 75% of the time, and have Emmanuel Mosley in the slot covering,
and just let Jimmy just roam, just like literally just watch the quarterback's eyes and be like, pick and choose where he's going to go. Ooh,
and
boy.
it just changes everything. This is the first time the 49ers have been able to marry a pass rush with straight up, I don't care who it is, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, bet. Let's run it however you want to run it, and let's get you that way. Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, maybe Odell Beckham. We'll see in a little bit. Yeah, we can run however you want to run. And if you watch the NFC Championship game, unfortunately, a lot of the catches that were allowed was because Ambry Thomas was afraid of being smoked up top. And he just gave a lot of cushion. Like, literally, Stafford would get the ball and just turn and just be like, bang it on Odell Beckham for 3, and he would get 9, right? Like, and that's not his fault necessarily, because he's trying to take the safe route. But this team now can do whatever they want to do, and it don't matter who you have. Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, don't care. Michael Gallup, Tolbert, CeeDee Lamb, we don't care. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Reagor, we don't care. That's the thing that they, for the first time, the 49ers have done, is invest in corners. And when you want them to do it in the draft, but they got a young guy who has been successful since 2019. If I sound juiced, you should be juiced. That's the best way I could put it.
Oh, my man's spitting. If I had to throw a percentage chance on it, Jason threw 50-50. I'm probably 60-65. I think we're going to see a lot more exotic blitz packages. And because of the ability to play man and press man, you're going to be able to get more 5-man pressures, 6-man pressures. You're going to be able to send overloaded blitzes. You're going to be able to send double A-gap pressures. You're going to be able to do a lot more creative things like we saw in training camp last year being installed. It just wasn't able to be executed because they didn't have the coverage on the back end. You could throw whatever blitzes you want, but if they're getting the ball out in less than 2 seconds because wide receivers are running wide open, they're cooking them off the line with slot fades, it doesn't matter. So this is the big change in philosophy in the defense that I see. I see more press man, and as a result, you get more exotics out of it, which means more pressures up front, which could lead to more coverage sacks because press man, you throw off the timing, you're able to jam them at the line of scrimmage. That's the biggest thing for me. When you get them off their timing, just half a step, that's it. You change. That's that pause, that pat. That pat can be the difference between an interception and a dime. So you get that, plus you get Bosa, you get Kinlaw pushing the pocket in the interior, you get Eric Armstead, this freaking massive body, Drake Jackson, Omenihu, Sampson, you name it, Tomoko Ture, like the list goes on, bro. So I see as it more on the heavier side, 60-65%. They're running more man coverage because I think on the back of that, they'll also be able to run exotic blitzes more than we've seen in a long time. Because let's face it, in 2019, they won with 4 guys going after the quarterback: Dee Ford, Eric Armstead, DeForest Buckner, and Bosa. That was it. Running straight up zone schemes as vanilla as day, and they just said, those 4 guys, go get it. This, I think, gives them an opportunity to disguise. Oh, that's why I'm so excited. I'm so excited. We haven't seen a defense. We haven't seen a defense like this in a long time, bro.
Here's what I'm juiced about, man. These joint practices that the 49ers are going to have with Minnesota, which I'm traveling for that. That's marked down.
I'm going to try to get there too. It's around wifey's birthday, though. I gotta figure out how to schedule that.
Wifey, we'll send you some bread or something like that. Like just a little bit. Like, you got to let this man come. But I want to see Ward against Justin Jefferson. I want to see Emmanuel Mosley against Adam Thielen and I want to see whoever's the nickel corner against KJ Osborne. I am so excited to watch this team go up against elite receivers because I am that juiced about this secondary. And this is the best secondary that the Shanahan Lynch era has ever had.
Absolutely. My man Spin Luis says, can't wait for the Niners and the Giants season this year and all the podcasts. Pizza or burgers on me, boys. Hell yeah.
Shout out to you, Luis. Hell yeah. Pizza and burgers. I mean,
give
we
me
might,
all
I
the
mean,
food.
yeah. Screw it. Pizza and burgers. Let's go, my boy.
But dude, this was a blast, dude. It's a good episode to get back. We got to talk about some of the rumor mill stuff, but we got to get into some meat of some football meatiness is what we were looking for. So that was a lot of fun. Jason, it was a pleasure. Shout out to all the squad. Reminder for the good people where they can get more Spicy Aponte content.
Shout out to everybody that's been tapping in. I appreciate you guys for sticking with me while my family deals with COVID, and I took some time off while moving and everything as well too. The content's going to ramp up. I will be at camp, so you guys can expect that. In the description, if you are on my channel, that's where you can join the Spicy Squad. We had a call-in show yesterday. It was electric. We had Javi on, we had Andrew on, we had a bunch of people jump in who had a great thing to talk about. You know, we kind of talked through my Terry McLaurin feelings, and everybody watched me like basically fake cry through the TV. Jason Aponte 2103 on Twitter. Sprint Right Option Podcast, anywhere that you get your audio podcast. Oh, Hey There podcast. If you subscribe to the Niners Nation podcast, that's where you'll find me as well too. That's something that I just started doing with Leo Luna. We just did our second episode. He's in Cancun, so it was me and Rob Stats Guerrero, but you'll expect more of that as well too. Thank you guys for tapping in with me. Thank you guys. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. Brad, talk to him too, man.
Absolutely. You know where to find me. SF Niners, pretty much anywhere on any platform. Tap in with State of the Franchise, typically every Wednesday. But once training camp gets going, but we got boots on the ground. We're seeing it with our own eyes. Ooh,
maybe
boy,
maybe I might be famous enough to like hop on one of these IG live streams. Hey, look, Brad, I'm kind of popping on IG, my guy. I got one reel that just went up to 100K. On views. Yes, I did. And they opened up some things for me now on the tabs or whatever on my profile about like ads and stuff like that.
We gotta pick up the. So I'm trying. Like I moved to YouTube and I was like, I kind of left my guys on IG hanging. We might need to supplement both platforms. So IG Live's coming soon, maybe.
Hey, I mean, right now you're looking at a guy who's about to quit his day job and just be a TikToker, right? At this point, man. Like, I made one reel and it went to the moon. Like, I promise you, my noties are banging off of a stupid reel. Like, I can't believe it. Like, it's ridiculous. And yeah,
you know the vibes. Hey, you love to see it. You love to see it. So, but content right now, we're off-season mode. So a lot of the stuff we're doing behind the scenes. So we're getting prepared for training camp. So when training camp is going, we aren't thinking, we're just executing. So get ready, stay locked in. Content's going to be through the moon this year. And we appreciate all you guys for subbing to both channels, liking both videos, and supporting both of us on this content journey. We really do appreciate it. But for now, Aponte, Sourdough, Brad, we out. Peace.